All right. So, so this is Shelby.
Hi.
And I'm Stephanie. And Shelby has recently joined the Magical Mothering Method and has offered, or with her sessions, she's actually offered to share her private one-on-one sessions with everyone. So while I'm going to be focusing a lot this way, know that she is doing this and offering this for everybody's healing and success in this program and in their life. So I feel really grateful and really blessed to have her be willing to do that and be vulnerable with everybody in order to share. So
yes,
that's that little introduction.
Yes, awesome. And apologies if I'm awkward. This is new for me.
We're all a little awkward. So it makes us fun.
Yes.
So you've done week 1.
Yes. And I started week 2, but I didn't finish it.
That's okay.
I was going to do the womb bath.
Yeah.
It just didn't happen.
Okay.
So.
And it might just be that, like, you need to go through it once.
Yeah.
And then set up that time either once a month, or if you can get to it once a week, to do that womb bath and just do, just do some more of that integrating in the bath.
Yeah.
But make sure, like, if you can't find the time to do the bath, just do it.
I just have to make the time. Last night, it just didn't work.
Yeah.
But
you only had like 30 minutes.
Yes.
Yes.
And it was like at 4:30, right before dinner.
A bit of a rush to try to hop into a relaxing bath.
Yeah. Right.
So, I'd love to hear your experience with week 1. Did you feel any shifts?
Stuff down.
Okay, awesome.
Yes. Let me get my notes.
I love it.
So, like I told you, I have very few memories of my childhood.
Yeah.
A lot of my memories, I think, start around the age of 10. And when I was really thinking about it, from the time I was 6 months old, my mom left my dad and was dating this guy who was very abusive. They were drug addicts. It was crazy. So from the time I was 6 months old until I was almost 11 is when she was with him.
Okay.
So that is the time period that I really don't have a lot of memories of.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the facts of, like, what happened.
Yeah.
But I don't really remember it.
Okay.
And then there's a lot of questions. Like, I don't know what all happened.
Right.
And something I remembered actually on the way here was that when I was really young, and it was around the time I was learning to ride a bike, so I'm not sure exactly how old I was.
Okay.
Like,
maybe
5, 6, 7.
Yep.
I would come home with bruises on my, like, pelvic area all the time. But I was told I fell off my bike and got bruises there. But that's all I remember. I don't know what happened. Okay. I don't know how they got there.
So my question is for you. There's 2 ways to go about it.
Mm-hmm.
You can either go back, and sometimes the memories come anyway with the healing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that just when you're ready, they come.
Mm-hmm. So
the question is, we can actually go back through and just get a very generalized gathering up of yourself, and we do it in week 3. We go back through the timeline and gather all of those pieces up.
Mm-hmm.
But for you specifically, I almost feel like creating space to, if you have specific questions, for your higher self to bring you into those moments, if that's what you want.
Yeah, I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know because I feel like I know somewhere in there, obviously.
Right.
But me presently doesn't know. And I think I need to, because I think that is what has caused a lot of problems throughout my entire life.
Yeah.
Is that I was always kind of like you were saying, to think about how you were brought up and, like, your beliefs and things. And I feel like a lot of my family is very much like, keep it to yourself. Don't cause problems for other people.
Don't make waves.
Yeah. And, like, because I do remember one instance when I was probably, like, 14. Drinking has always been a huge thing in my family. A lot of people drink, on my mom's side of the family anyway. And we were all drinking. We were out at my aunt and uncle's house, and we had all been drinking very heavily. And I remember, I was only, like, 14, and I'm, like, throwing up drunk. And my uncle was helping me. And I remember him putting his hand in my shirt. And I'm sure he thought I was so drunk I would never know. But I remember that, and I remember the feeling of, like, I have to get away from him.
And yet, totally hopeless.
No one was around. It was only me and him. I remember we were on the porch of his house. No one was around, and I remember, like, I have to get away from him. Like, I remember that feeling. And I told my mom about it, and she said, well, you probably should keep it to yourself. And that was, like, a few years later after it happened. Like, I told her, and she was like, well, there's no sense in saying anything now. It's already done. Like, you're just going to cause problems. So I feel like even if she knew something was happening to me as a child, she wouldn't have protected me
or acknowledged it. Or,
no, and I can't really like blame her at the same time because she was such a drug addict. I mean, she was addicted to crack. I mean, she smoked crack for 10 years and went to prison. I mean, it was the whole deal. So I don't feel like I would blame her, but at the same time, I also feel like my whole life I just wanted someone to take care of me because I never had that. Like, my dad worked midnights, he slept during the day. We were with my grandparents, but they were old.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think what I'll do is, because we've already done the inner child, and we found that inner child before, I think I'll kind of, like, link that. But I think going back and going into that and meeting your inner child again, seeing where she's at right now. Do you remember how old she was? About 5
Honestly,
or 6?
I would think so, because when I picture that, I picture a picture of me.
Okay.
I can't really visualize even myself in present day in my head right now. Like, I can't close my eyes and picture my own face.
Okay. And we kind of got around that, though, in that last session, I think.
I think, yeah, like, whenever we were at the part where I was, like, in the field.
Yes.
I could picture myself. It wasn't, like, super crystal clear.
That's okay. Yeah.
You know, but
and sometimes it'll come out more as a feeling of knowing what's around you and who's there. So, I remember we did kind of have to do that. So I'll link that session into it.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
All right,
definitely.
So share with me your notes from the root chakra initiation.
Okay, so like I talked about, my mom being with Tony, that's his name. I just kind of remember like bits and pieces of that. I remember seeing him beat her in the face with a phone because she tried to call the police.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember my brother always trying to protect me. Like that was. If I didn't have my brother, I don't know how my childhood would have gone, but I do remember that. I remember being with him a lot when we were there. I do remember, well, this was actually a dream that I had. I used to have this dream a lot that my mom was holding me and I was a baby, and a man came bursting through the front door of their house, and I remember Tony running out the back door, and, well, in my dream, I mean, and the guy pushed my mom, and I flew across the floor. And in my dream, it's like I'm a fly on the wall watching this happen.
Wow.
And I told my mom about that dream, and she said that really happened. That, like that was real life. And I don't know if I don't remember my brother being there at that time, but that's one thing I remember.
So, what's interesting is you may have the ability. So, I feel like now that you've said that, that fly on the wall aspect, we may use that to actually reawaken these memories that you don't have.
Yeah.
And we can always ask your subconscious if it's best for you to receive them in a dream state or to receive them during a session.
Okay.
So we can kind of get those answers, because if you've already received past memories at 6 months, as a baby.
I was a baby.
Right. So if you have that ability within you, that's something that's innate.
Yeah.
That is part of your innate gifts.
Okay.
And so to actually start harnessing that for your own healing is going to actually just make that stronger, so that you could actually do that for others.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to. I want to be able to help myself. I want to be able to help others. I feel like throughout my whole life, I've always tried to help others before myself.
Right.
Like that's why I've never done any of this, because just canceled myself out.
Right.
You know, and
I've
I've
become the fly on the wall. You
Yeah.
become invisible in a sense.
And I never really put it together until the first week session with the dissociation thing. I've done that my whole life.
Yeah.
I have always felt separate from my body.
Yeah.
Like right now, currently, it's like my body is one thing and my mind is a whole nother entity.
Yes.
You know, and I never understood why. Like I just always thought something was wrong with me.
Right.
You know, because I didn't know that was like a thing. I also think the fact that I don't remember things well is I started smoking weed when I was 10 years old, and I have continuously used cannabis my whole life, pretty much on a daily basis since I was 10.
Okay.
Since I started doing this, the last 2 days, I have not smoked.
Wow.
I haven't even like wanted to.
That's incredible.
And I've taken breaks throughout my life.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if I knew I had to take a drug test or something.
Right.
You know,
had to.
because I had to.
But
Not because I wanted to.
Not because it wasn't pulling at you.
Right. And honestly, sometimes I smoke and I don't even want to. It's a habit, and it numbs everything else. Like it keeps me kind of in a fog and just like on autopilot. And sometimes I think it is used medicinally and it can be okay. But I also think that I abuse it, and I use it as a crutch, you know. And so that's something I am definitely trying to, like, I'm not going to say I'm never going to do it again.
No.
But right now, I don't need it.
And that's really powerful, too, though,
Mm-hmm.
of saying, like, I actually have control for the first time.
Yeah, and I haven't for a long time. I mean, that's something I remember. I remember the first time I ever did. I was 10, and I was with one of my friends, and we walked into her brother's room, and him and his friend were rolling a blunt, and they were like, well, since you saw this, you're going to smoke with us, so you can't tell Mom. And they basically just, like, forced us to smoke them. And I did. I didn't say no. I mean, I didn't try to leave the room.
Right.
I did it, and I continued to do it since I was 10. And I think about my own son being 13 right now. Like, I couldn't even imagine if he did that.
Right.
You know? But there was no one around. I never had adults around.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Such
like,
a
I
different
was
world.
doing stuff by myself all the time. Like, it was just crazy. So, honestly, like, a lot of my memories kind of start around 10 or 11.
Okay.
I think that's around the time I used to cut myself.
Okay.
And I think I started that around that time.
Which makes sense that your memories would start around that time, because you came back into your body physically to remember. So our memories are stored in our bodies. Our memories are not stored in our brains. So with a dissociation and with a disconnect from your body, because your body was physically feeling trauma, but it didn't want to remember or couldn't remember because it wouldn't have survived.
Right.
It had to just disconnect. So I'm sure, like, you have a hard time probably remembering all sorts of things.
I got to write everything down.
Yes. So know that as you integrate in your body, and that's where that womb bath comes in.
Yeah.
Really getting that sensation of, like, feeling the physical water on your whole body.
Yeah.
Feeling the glow of a candle. Like, all of those hyper-present physical sensations are going to help integrate this.
Yeah.
Especially if there's been that dissociation. So, like, that's a key thing that a lot of people go, oh, I don't have time to do a bath, or I can't do a bath.
Right.
But so much of us are dissociated and have these huge time lapses.
Yeah.
That is where it's all going to come in.
Yeah. I feel like I'm at a point in my life where it is terribly important for me to do this.
Yeah.
So I just have to make the time to do it because I have to.
Right.
I have to move forward because I can't live in this state anymore. Yeah.
It's kind of a limbo at this point.
Yeah, and I feel
you
like
don't want to numb anymore.
No, and I've been doing it for so long, you know, and I need answers. I need to do this, you know. Yeah. One of the other things is I don't know what age I was when this happened. I have a cousin that I don't know what he did, but I know every time I was around him, I felt scared. And I remember he stayed the night at we stayed the night at my grandparents' house a lot because my dad worked midnight. So until I was around probably 10 or 11, and my brother would have been 14, is when we started staying at home alone.
Okay.
Well, before that, we would stay at my grandparents' house, and my cousin would stay there sometimes too. And we had like a cot that they would put against the couch to make one big bed.
Okay.
And I remember specifically telling my brother, "Can you sleep in between me and Justin?" But I don't remember, like, what happened.
Right.
I just remember telling him that, and I remember always feeling weird around him.
Okay.
You know, and I remember, too, like, as a kid, I don't think this is natural, what I was doing. I feel like it was taught to me, but I would hump my stuffed animals.
That's supernatural.
Okay.
That
I didn't know, because I've never caught my kids doing that.
Yes.
And so to me,
natural.
I'm like, okay, why am I humping all these stuffed animals?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
because I remember my grandmother walking in on me one time with Raggedy Ann, and we were getting down, and Grandma took Raggedy Ann, and I would never saw her again. Grandma was not having that. She was a real Christian lady, and she was like, okay, no more Raggedy Ann.
So there are some children that are just more hardwired for, and it's usually not a sexual thing, it's more of a pleasure thing. It just feels good.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times adults perceive it as like, oh, you were humping that. You know, as you're like looking back at it, you're like, why was I humping that thing?
Yeah.
But really, it's that whole pleasure
like
aspect. It just feels good, and it feels safe. And because it's you.
Right.
And especially if there was any trauma with that, that would feel extra pleasurable because it was safe, because it was you by yourself, totally in control of your own pleasure center.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So, there are some kids that are just more, they touch themselves more, they just, and if they're not like, oh, that's gross, or, you know what I mean, then, or if it's never seen, it seemed like nothing was really noticed or talked about, so nobody ever said, like, oh, that's bad.
No, until my grandma was like, took Raggedy Ann, but she didn't really talk to me about it.
Right.
I didn't have Raggedy Ann anymore.
Right.
You know? So I was just kind of like, well, I guess go find something else.
Right.
You know? But because I don't have a lot of memories, I didn't, you know, it's like, for me, it's like, okay, is that linked to something? I don't know.
And it could have just been like a traumatic. It was stark, it was trauma, and you were in your body. So again, you were experiencing something and having a memory while you were fully present to the experiences within your body. Mm-hmm. Super powerful. That's why it's remembered.
Okay.
So as these memories start coming up, I want you to notice, like, if you were in your body or not. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Because I can actually remember doing it and not just, like, seeing it from afar.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That makes sense.
So that's where that becomes really, like, potent and powerful, to have that memory ignition happen. Because that's where most likely you were given that dream aspect, because that's the first time that you actually dissociated as the baby.
Okay. Yeah. And I basically was born into chaos because I was only 6 months old, and when I was born, you know. Yeah. And that's the narrative I've been given. So, like, I don't know what my mom was doing while she was pregnant with me.
Right. To start.
I know she drank. I know she smoked.
Right.
While she was pregnant with both of us.
Right.
You know, to me, it's a little peculiar that within 6 months you met Tony and started smoking crack. You know, like, she could have been doing that while she was pregnant. I don't know. I don't want to assume, but I don't know. That's just what I'm told. You know, and a lot of my life is what I was told. Like, when I was a kid, I don't remember this. This is what I was told. My arm got broken. I was told that I was being potty trained and I was having an accident, and that Tony lifted me up by my arm to put me on the toilet, and then my arm dislocated.
But that doesn't break an arm.
But I had a broken arm. I also was told that I fell off a rocking chair.
For the same broken arm?
Yeah. By one grandma told me one story, one grandma told me the other.
They should have communicated a little bit better their stories.
So I don't know what happened, but I know he was very abusive. So I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember when I was little, I wanted to be around him. Even though I knew what he was doing to my mom, he did it in front of us. He made us watch, you know. And my brother remembers a lot of it, and he would tell me, like, you know, when they would be fighting, my brother would try to take us out of the room, but Tony would make us stay. Like, he would physically keep us in the room to watch it.
Wow.
And I don't remember that, but
Right.
my brother does.
Yeah. So do you feel like your brother, because he was old, he was already, what, 4?
Yeah, he was 4 already when they got
your mom
together.
met Tony.
Yeah.
So, does he have more memories of that time?
I think he does, but I think my brother has even a harder time dealing with it than me.
Yeah.
Like, I think my body, you know, disassociated. I don't think his did.
Right.
I think he stayed present in it, and it has affected him throughout his whole life.
Okay.
I mean, he suffered depression, anxiety. He thinks he's having heart attacks all the time. I mean, so I'm hesitant to ask him.
Right.
Because I don't know how.
And I think it's one of those things that as you become whole and can receive, if he gets triggered, you can actually help keep him present. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I want to help him.
Right. And so it's going to be, you know, after this journey of you being integrated and you having more clarity and answers and understanding about what is happening and what has happened, then you can go in and say, hey, I actually have more memories and I know this happened and this happened. But even just being able to acknowledge, like, thank you for protecting me. Like, I got this new memory and you were there with me again, just watching, you know, and so he might just need to be seen for the first time.
Yeah.
In that aspect.
Because I don't know that I ever really have thanked him for protecting us, you know, and I know one thing he told me is, because I think with that dream, there was another, like, aspect of it where I remember being in the backseat of a car under a blanket with my brother, or I dreamt it, one of the two, and that he has said really happened, that my mom would leave us in the car outside of, like, crack houses.
Under a blanket so nobody would see you.
Yeah, like, he would do that. He would put us under the blanket. Like, she didn't do that.
Yeah.
She would just go and not come back for hours.
Wow.
And so he would do things to keep us hidden or distracted.
Right.
And I don't really remember that, you know. I kind of can see it, like, the same way I could see that dream.
Right.
You know, like, I just pictured that image, but I don't really remember being there.
Right.
You know?
So I think, a lot of this first month, thank you for that.
Yes.
A lot of this first month, and I might actually want to have you keep those out, because I want to go through a couple of those specifically to have that kind of, like, initiation of show this, and that sort of thing, and that way we can get some clarity around that.
Okay. And these are not cuts. That's from my cat, just so you know. I have cat scratches all over because cat jumps on my legs all the time. Yes. Oh, yes.
Yes. So there is. So this first month is literally all about getting back into your body and feeling safe.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen in a month.
No, I know that I have 30 years worth of trauma.
Yes.
I am realistic with where this is going.
And so for those yourself and those who have experienced a lot of trauma throughout their childhood, knowing that every month you're going to go back to this root chakra.
Yeah.
So even next month when we do a different healing, you're going to go back to this root chakra and meet another inner child or have another connection. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
So as you progress through each of the chakras, getting more and more connected and integrated with your higher self, continuously pulling your body into that process so you don't just end up here again.
Right.
Because that would not be beneficial.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And I kind of picture it like with growing vegetables. You have to have a strong root system to produce good fruits.
Yes.
So I know that my root chakra is probably the most damaged.
Yeah.
Because it is the beginning of all of it.
Yes.
And so I'm aware that until that repairs, all the other stuff is going to be out of whack.
Right.
You know?
Well, and again, we're just going to continue
Like,
to
go back.
pull that
Yeah.
root up, and you're going to have a grounded. And most people, it's interesting how people see the chakra system as, oh, my sacral is, over whatever. They think it's all the other things, but the root really needs to be integrated, because our physical bodies, if we become one with everything, then we're lost.
Right.
And we, it's
that
like
makes sense.
we haven't integrated all of our spiritual gifts. We haven't integrated all of our experiences.
Yeah.
Integrating that trauma is super important.
Right.
In order to integrate everything else.
Yeah. And that's why, like, I know this is probably going to be very emotional for me, because I'm an emotional person. I've already almost cried, like, 3 times since I've been sitting here, but I've been doing good at not crying about everything all the time.
That's okay.
And
that's something that did help a little bit with that first session of
Yeah.
integrating.
Yeah. Well, and I think the first session for me was hard because I knew Harlow was here.
Yes.
And so in the back of my mind, I don't feel like I was able to, like, fully get into it, because
Right.
I was still, like, thinking, like, okay, she's going to walk up. I don't want her to see me in
Right.
that state,
Yeah.
you know. That's why I'm glad that I'm alone today, so that I can actually really get into it.
Yeah.
And I'm prepared for the emotions, I guess, that might
As much
arise.
as you can.
Right, because I know there's a lot. There's a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
to dive into. I know
Yeah.
I have a lot. I come with a lot.
And
So,
you had a little journal, right?
yeah,
Okay.
I didn't
So-
bring it with me.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
So, I was going to say, I really want you to either set an alarm or do something to wake yourself up to start writing your dreams down.
Okay.
So before you would typically wake up at like 4 a.m.
Okay.
and start waking up and seeing if there's any dream reveals.
Okay.
And if there are, just take a minute, write them down, and then just let your higher self, like, we'll prompt your higher self
Yeah.
that, like, you're going to be doing this and to help you go back to sleep so that you're getting really restorative, regenerative sleep. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
I don't remember a lot of my dreams, but I also wonder if that's because I smoke a lot of weed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so not doing that is going to help.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because, I mean, some people get really good sleep because they smoke weed,
Yeah.
but at the same time, your brain and body connection's not there
Right.
to
Yeah.
have a lot of that
Well, and I
recall.
think that's part of, like, my crutch. I know that is, like, the feeling it gives me, that I'm
Right.
not connected, so
Right.
that I don't have to feel and think.
Right.
You know, and I'm a very in-my-head type of person. I think I spend more time in my inner world than my outer world, and that's what I want to change. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to feel like that all the time. And another thing, like, it makes sense to me now when I look at things like with, when, she's beautiful. Not today, sweetie, sorry. Okay. Oh, well, good. Well, good.
Carla would have been the cherry on top. Too much fun.
Right, too much fun. That's kind of what I was gonna say was, like, it makes sense that I am dissociated from my inner child because I was never allowed to be a child.
Yes.
I was always on my own. I was always having to survive. And so even, like, today with my kids, like, if Harlow wants to play Barbies or, like, play, like, an imaginary game like that, I can't do it.
Right.
I physically cannot play with her like that. But if she wants to do a puzzle or color
Right.
or play a board game, I can do that.
Right.
But I cannot physically stand to play imaginary games.
Well, after the age of 9, and then again more fully at around 13 or so, we actually lose that imaginative world.
Mm-hmm.
So starting around age 7, we begin solidifying.
Mm-hmm.
We are no longer in, like, this dream world.
Yeah.
And then at 9, it really starts diminishing, and then in the teenage years when the hormones flood our body, we kind of lose that entirely. So, like, where kids can literally see the ground being lava,
Yeah.
you know, and things like that, that's actually a part of their brain development.
Okay.
That we would have,
Right.
we don't quite get into that in the same way.
Right.
Our brains have solidified in a way that we cannot actually do
Right.
that.
But some people can still at least do the act of playing with the child.
Some.
But I just have never been able to do that. And I think that's a lot of me and my son's bonding problem. It was like, I had him when I was 17 and in one of the most traumatic relationships of my life.
Right.
So him and I never, bonded.
Yeah.
And so, we have relationship issues now.
Yes.
And me and my daughter are a lot different, but I was in a lot different space at the same time. I mean, I was still in a bad relationship, but I think I was at least a little further than where I was when at 17.
Yeah.
But I don't want to keep doing that. I don't want to keep damaging these relationships with my children because of my damages or trauma or whatever. I want to heal that so that I can have better relationships.
Right. And as you're able to be more present to them and their physical bodies and have more of an interaction, that will be there more.
Yeah, that's what I hope and want to do.
Yes.
Because I am, even when I'm doing something, in the back of my mind I'm thinking okay, well, I gotta get done with this because I gotta get home and I gotta do this and I gotta go do this and I gotta do this, and I don't want to do that. I want to be able to be present and not be thinking about all this nonsense tasks that I gotta do all the time.
And it could be, that's another coping skill though. If you're staying busy, you don't have to engage. You don't have to feel. You can just continuously.
And that's what I do.
Right.
All the time.
Yeah.
Even still to this day, I'm filling my days full of busy work.
Right. And some of it I'm sure is, necessary.
Yeah.
But taking a day off and just going to the lake or something. Or going to the creek. Or going, and just
being. Yeah.
Just being.
And I don't ever do that.
Right. And so that's going to be part of your homework thing.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So I want to go into that space, kind of that dream space, and we're going to use that dream that's really vivid, and you've been in that dream so many times.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use that dream experience and that fly to other memories.
Okay.
And so we'll just see what comes up, and so I want you to know that at any time you can say stop.
Mm-hmm.
If there is something that you see that you want to process first and write down and journal, just say, I received it and I'm going to write it down.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want you to feel like you have to share something so new or fresh. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
And while you're totally open to this whole process, I do know that sometimes things can come through and you're whoa, okay.
Yeah.
And so know that whatever comes up, it's yours to own.
Right, yeah.
And if you feel like something comes up that you want to reveal or share, that is amazing and awesome too.
Yeah.
And then we're also going to I'm going to call in your higher self, and we're going to call in, so I think that fly is almost like a part of your higher self, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they're this time-traveling fly that can kind of reveal things to you. So it's interesting that the fly is often, a pest or whatever, but at the same time, this fly, is so revealing.
Yeah.
And it reveals, it's almost a shadow.
Yeah.
It is that darkness. It is that kind of decay and all that kind of stuff wrapped in.
Right.
So this little fly.
But it all makes sense, because if I disassociated from myself, then that means I'm over here now.
Right.
And my body's over here.
Yes.
So, I'm watching what's happening to my body.
Correct.
So that makes sense. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
And I feel part of me feels like this is what I'm supposed to do, that I'm supposed to share this trauma with others. I just have this feeling inside of me that's you have held all this in so long, you can't hold it in anymore. Yeah. And there's probably so many other people that feel that way. Yeah. And they need to know that it's okay to let it out.
Yes. Yes.
and that I need to know it's okay to let it out. So, like, I am open to sharing it all because I want other people to not hold it in anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like I almost feel like that's like my purpose.
Yes.
Is to help other people let go of this.
Yeah.
Because you can't live like this forever.
Yeah, and I mean, there's some people that choose to.
Yeah.
But I think we're shifting into such a time and an age that
Yeah.
you're right, we can't any longer.
Yeah, I do. I feel like the world is starting to wake up.
Yeah.
And, you know, as a mass people, we've been lied to.
Yes.
As individuals, some of us have been lied to. Like, I feel like I have.
Let's use this little guy. He's your little fly.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's his type of bee, though.
Tyler calls them cornflies.
Okay. Interesting.
They look like people call them sweat bees.
Okay. They're pollinators, though, too.
I believe.
So, okay, let me
see.
No coincidences here. Look at this little bee fly so that you get the visual. Okay, well, this little guy decided to show up.
Yes.
All right. So, we've got our little bee fly friend.
Yes.
Top of mind. All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm ready.
All right, so I'm going to have you close your eyes and just sit as comfortably as...
Can you get my sweaty hair off me?
Yes, so just sit as comfortably as you can, and as long as you can hear my voice, you're perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
Take a nice deep breath. And I want you to go back to that dream space. That dream space of being in that house, seeing, being on that wall right there as a fly and looking at that scene. And I want you to ask that fly if it is capable of showing or revealing you other memories like it did this time. So are you in that kind of dream? Can you access that dream and have that in your mind's eye?
Yeah, I'm in that house.
Okay.
And I can picture the dream, the scene that plays out.
Okay.
But it pretty much stops there.
Okay. Can you feel in what angle or who are you right now viewing this dream?
Where I can see, it's like I'm above the front door, and I'm looking down at where my mom would be standing holding me.
Okay.
And then the man enters the front of the house, and there's a back door, and a backyard, and a fence, and that's where Tony runs out the back door.
Okay.
And it just kind of stops.
And so I want to, is this the house that you were in when you were a baby then, do you think?
Yeah, this is one of the first houses that I can remember, well, that in my dream I can see being in as a child.
Okay, perfect. So this is your home, and I want you to just kind of move alongside your mom, and I want you to I want you to see your higher self coming through that back door. Or feel her coming into that back door. Do you see her doing that?
Yeah.
Okay. I want your higher self to pick up that baby that your mom was holding.
Mm-hmm.
I want your mom and Tony and the man to leave. Okay. Do you feel any different being in this space?
It does feel a little different. I kind of picture myself telling them to leave.
Okay, yeah. And so I want you to look up above that front door then and see whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a fly anymore. I want it to be anything that can see and is going to teleport you. It can be a mythical creature, it can be an animal, it can be a bug. What do you see that is going to actually be guiding you into these memories?
A dragonfly.
Okay, perfect. So there's a dragonfly there, and your higher self and you as a baby, correct? Okay. So how does what kind of an emotional state is that baby in right now?
Scared.
I would like for you to fulfill the needs of that baby through your higher self. So either hug the baby, nurse the baby, feed the baby, soothe the baby, and however needs to be taken care of so that the baby's needs are totally met when she comes to a space of calm. So now I'm going to ask that dragonfly if it would be willing to take us to another memory that you have questions about. Does it sound like this?
It brought me to a gray box that Tony always kept in the closet, and I remember he always told us not to look in the box. And when I opened the box, there's pictures of horses and him when he was a kid. Some pantyhose. And like some sort of piece of like silk. What would be a crack pipe?
Can you ask either your higher self or this dragonfly to why did they bring you here? Why are they revealing this to you? Is something going to happen after seeing what is inside this heart?
Yes. It leads me to their bedroom, and I can just picture the bed that was in their room. It was a water bed, and it has like a big shelf on the back and a mirror. And I can picture the room itself, but not anything else, just the room and that bed.
Can you ask why you're in this room? And I want you to pause before you get revealed anything. I want you to actually open the ceiling of that room. Okay?
Okay.
And I want you to go up 20 or 30 feet above this room.
Okay.
And you're far enough away that you can't see a whole lot of details, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I want your subconscious to reveal, almost in a fast-forward type motion, all the traumatic or traumas or experiences that you are ready to receive right now that happened in this room. In a fast-forward, so you can't see a lot of the details, but I want you to see one experience right after another in like a fast-forward motion happening while looking up from above. Let me know if that is happening.
The only thing I can see is Tony on top of my mom, and I walk into the room, and he pushes me away. But I can't really go any further than that. That's really all I can see. But I see and I hear my mom yelling for him to stop, and I'm crying.
Can you think your higher self and yourself who are remembering that right now? Were you seeing that from 30 feet above, or were you seeing that as if you were experiencing it?
I was above.
Is there any other memories that your higher self would like to give you in this location? Can you go that way, please? Thank you.
I feel like this house that I'm picturing is probably where they spent the most amount of time that I can remember.
So you spent the most amount of time
Yeah.
as a child?
Yeah.
So something that we're going to be working on is integrating these memories, because a lot of the memories that you have are about your mom and Tony, because they're the ones your mom has told you about these memories, I'm guessing.
Most of them, yeah.
And so I want you, as you're experiencing these things, to start saying, I remember walking around Tony. Does that make sense? And integrating these memories.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're going to have that dragonfly bring you to another memory. I want you to fast forward to your grandma's house. I want you to fly over to your grandma's house.
Okay.
And I want you to no longer be 20 or 30 feet above, but I want you to be laying in that hot couch sofa position that you were in on that day that you no longer felt safe with your cousin.
Okay.
Is it before the incident right now?
No, I'm on the floor, and he got out of the pot and lays next to me on the floor. And that's when he puts his hands in my hands, during my underwear.
Did you say anything, or did you just...
I'm just laying there. myself, I'm sitting on top of the TV in my living room, and I can just see it happening, and I'm just laying there.
So, same kind of from that dragonfly perspective. I want, just like when higher self came in and helped that little baby, have you seen enough of this memory to know what happened? Or do you feel like there's more?
No, I think that's all that happened. I picture myself coming in now and telling him that that's wrong and to stop. And I picture myself hugging the little girl and telling her it's okay.
Can you let her know that that wasn't her fault at all? That nothing she did in any way, shape, or form allowed that or let that happen?
I picture her now laying down with my brother on the couch.
Safe.
And I picture myself telling him that he needs to go and not come back.
Would you like to do one more memory, or do you feel like that is good?
I think I can do more.
So, now we're going to, how old were you that you guys were living?
I would have been less than 10.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure.
Okay. So now I want this dragonfly to take you to a memory that has caused the most amount of separation prior to that age of 10. Would you have that dragonfly take you to that memory?
I'm in a room that I don't recognize, but all I can see is the couch. And there's a dog and Tony sitting on the couch. And I'm really small. Like maybe 3 or 4. And he's naked. And I see my small self. And he puts my hand on his heart. And I'm seeing it like I'm on the other side of the room.
drawing him out into a black hole, destroying him, or anything else, remove him from that scene.
I picture myself when I was 16, maybe 15. I couldn't drive. I had to have been 15, and I remember walking into a bar with my mom, and he was at the bar, and I sat down next to him, and he looked at me, and my thumb was hanging out, and he snapped it, and he says to me, I would snap a lot more than that if you weren't 15. And I picture myself throwing him off of the chair and leaving. But that didn't happen anymore. I just sat there. While my mom made us both drinks.
So, I want you to take him and put him in a space that allows you to feel safe. Wherever that is in the world, or in the universe, or in the galaxy, somewhere that you are safe in anywhere as well.
I see myself at his funeral. I can picture him in a casket and being lowered into the ground. And I'm the only one there.
So we're going to go back and get that little feeling that I was talking about. He is not going to be on that couch anymore, but she is going to be in that room, still by herself, correct?
Yes. When I went back to that room, I pictured myself holding that dog, and the dog's name was Mr. Magoo. I completely forgot we had that dog. I went so crazy when I was little. I wanted to be around him. I remember that he would brush my hair because when my mom did it, it hurt. And I loved him. Every time we would go, he would call, every time I go there, it's every other weekend. And he would call it Shelby's Day. And we would go anywhere I wanted and spend $100. And I never got anything. And I never even asked why. It's because I had secrets that Josh didn't have.
And he was what is called grooming you.
For so long, that's all I can remember was like the good parts. It's hard to believe that that could be real. It makes me wonder if my mom knows. She's gotta know. Like, did I not ever say anything to anyone?
Maybe that was part of the agreement.
If I didn't tell, and I got over the special treatment.
Yeah. If Shelby Day went away, that it seemed like it was very easy for him to manipulate your mom and to use her.
Yeah, definitely. She's weak. And I was just a kid. And I feel like I've always been the type of person that wants to make other people happy.
Well, and you were programmed to.
Yeah. It's so crazy how someone can do that.
It doesn't even seem fathom but it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you could then go, how could you do that? Or why? But he was in a sickness. He had, and it could be why you are being so triggered by the stuff that is coming out now.
Yeah.
And why you're crying, and why you're waking up crying, and why it's affecting you so much.
Because it happened to me.
Because it happened to you.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't remember anything past that, but I do remember when I lost my virginity when I was 13. I remember thinking it didn't hurt like I thought it would, and that I didn't bleed. Nothing happened.
Right.
So it's like maybe it had already happened.
And did you think this at the time, kind of a thing, or it
No.
felt odd then?
Yeah, it just felt odd, and I just remember thinking that a lot throughout my life. That it wasn't how I thought it would be.
Right.
And when I was 13 and lost my virginity, he was 17. And that's who I had my first child with. So again, that's just another relationship that I was being manipulated and abused. It's almost strange to look back at it. It's almost like it's not even my life. That's how it feels. It feels like a story.
Right. That's because it is right now. Because it's not integrated.
Yeah.
Well done.
That's crazy.
Really, really well done. And what's incredible is that you automatically went through and gathered up the children. And even the animals.
I did. I grabbed the little dog.
Mr. Magoo, you grabbed him because you knew that he couldn't stay there either.
Yeah. I can picture the dog perfect in my brain. I was so little when I had that dog.
So it's not that the memories aren't there.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like I know that they're in there. And I feel like that's why I have felt the way that I've felt for so long. Like I feel angry a lot.
Right.
And I don't know why.
Well, because you were manipulated and lied to and used.
Yeah.
And so know that, allowing for yourself to be angry about that is okay.
Yeah. I think that's why I've never directly asked my mom, because I don't want to hurt her.
But it's not really about her.
Yeah. I know.
And you've been protecting her whole life, your whole life. and we're no longer responsible for that. She would not do that to you.
Pretty much the only person that did was my brother. But there was nobody to protect him. And I don't know if my dad knew what was happening or if he was just too weak to stop it. You know, I've been told that there was one time that my dad drove to my mom's house and he got arrested because he had a knife in the car and he said he was going to kill him.
So you might have told him.
I might have.
So that's something that we can, I think this is going to be a majority of what these sessions are.
Yeah.
Is having a safe space for you to be able to remember.
Yeah. Yeah. And it pretty much all centers around being her and Tony.
Yeah.
You know, well, I mean my cousin, but that was not super frequent.
It sounds like it happened and then you just kind of knew intuitively to not
Be around
him.
Yeah.
And guarded and safeguarded yourself.
And pretty much my whole life, I've never talked to him anytime I've ever seen him. And he doesn't live around here anymore. He lives in like Oregon or something. I don't know, somewhere else. I almost feel like a sense of release, but also a sense of like there's more.
Oh, yes.
You know, like I feel relief, but I also still feel like this heaviness.
Yeah.
You know, like almost like a shelf, something heavy teetering on the edge of it. It's not ready to fall, but it's almost there.
Well, and so close your eyes for just a minute. So I just want to allow for the possibility to happen that this heaviness or this teetering object for the scene to be revealed in a dream sequence. And so I want your higher self and the children that you've gathered up so far to all be in preparation and to all be ready and to be integrated for this memory to come through for you whenever you are ready to receive it.
I kind of pictured myself holding me as a baby and holding hand with a small child and just telling them that we need to be ready because it's coming. And that was kind of it. I think I might ask my mom about it and just see what she says.
Yeah. Say I've been remembering some things that happened, and I'd like for you to be truthful with me.
I don't know if she will, but
I mean, it could be that she's, let her know that it'll lighten the load that she's been carrying too.
yeah. I think she still carries a lot of secrets because she still drinks. She still self-medicates, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, she's not smoking crack anymore, but the more tangible things she can get her hands on.
Right.
I don't know if I'm ready to ask my dad. I don't know why. But when
You'll be more hurt though.
I do.
Yeah.
I always feel like this sense of like guilt and that I have to protect him from the truth when I'm around him.
Well, because that's what you were taught.
Yeah.
That's again how you were programmed.
Yeah.
So as we unravel a lot of this, that reprogramming aspect part of the program is going to be really valuable to use the things that you found. And then
Mm-hmm. My dad's main source of, like, discipline growing up was guilt. Making me feel guilty for what I had done, whatever it was.
And he didn't even probably know. You know,
Yeah.
and if he would have known, I mean, that's a very generational
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Most parents parent the same way that they're parented.
Right. Like, I never got things taken away.
Right.
I was never grounded.
Right.
I never could, like, not go do whatever I wanted. I could still go whenever. But I just always felt so guilty about whatever it is I was doing. And I was often doing things I shouldn't.
Or, I mean, again, though, it makes sense why you were doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. It does.
You had a mom that was bringing you to these things.
I went to bars with my mom since I was 11, 12, drinking. Like, I remember being at bars and then thinking it was, like, funny to give me shots. And it wasn't just hers. The people we were around.
Yeah.
No one was saying not to do it.
No one kept you safe.
No one said that was wrong.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, for my 16th birthday, we went to a concert and went out drinking before and after. I mean, and it was just okay. Yeah. And she always worked in bars, so I could go, and they would let me drink. You know, that was never, like, wrong.
Yeah. And so now, I mean, a lot of this process is going to be, as you're integrating, finding what is actually fulfilling and pleasurable to you.
Yeah.
Because starting from such a young age, you were groomed and told what was pleasurable.
Yeah. That's one thing, honestly, like, you know, Tyler asked me, like, well, what do you want to do? You know? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You were never given that choice.
Yeah, I didn't. I just had to, like, survive.
Yeah.
You know, and then even when I became an adult and had a child, there was no one there to help me.
Right.
His dad wasn't around.
Yeah.
You know, and so I've been in, like, survival mode my whole life.
Yeah.
And I'm finally at a point where I want that to stop because I'm not fighting against anything right now.
Yeah.
But I still feel like it,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
But physically in my present real life, there's really no drama.
Right.
There's really nothing happening. I'm not running from anything except for what's already in there. And so I just gotta keep releasing it.
Yes.
To move on from it.
You did good.
So crazy what the mind can do. But I think you're right. Why specifically what's going on in the world involving, like, the children and sex trafficking and all of that, it affects me so much. And I don't know if that's why I'm at a point where, like, I want to talk about this where people can hear me.
Yeah.
Because I want to, like, save them all.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Yeah, showing them that healing is possible.
Yeah.
And that remembering and sharing and being whole again is possible.
Yeah. I don't think I've been whole for most of my life.
It doesn't sound like maybe ever.
Yeah. It's a weird feeling.
Sometimes just honoring that, you know, your body was that incredible that it saved you and kept your happiness, and it kept your positive outlook, and it kept you fighting, and it kept, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's something that several people have always told me, that, like, you handle change and drama so well. How do you do it? And I'm just like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just do.
And so, you know, thanking your mind and your body for dissociating.
Yeah.
So that you could stay in that pure essence of who you are.
Yeah.
And not, you know, getting trapped in those other aspects.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of what's happened to my brother. Now that he doesn't have to protect me, ever since then, I feel like he kind of got lost in all of it.
Right.
You know, because he wasn't protecting me anymore.
Right. So where, what is his role now? Where is he?
And now he kind of just doesn't really do much. You know, I don't know if it's out of fear or what. I can't solve all these problems right now.
Nope, you're working on you.
I know.
You're working on you.
I know. I have to remind myself of that. That's hard. But it's important.
It is. Because you come first on this list.
You have to convince myself of that.
No, just practice it.
Yeah.
Just practice it by you coming out here, carving,
Right.
and etching out time.
This was like forced. Like I told Tyler, look, like I gotta do this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you're not gonna have a car to do what you want to do. But that's too bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I just gotta
It'll
do it.
be 2 hours of driving
Yeah.
there and back, and then it's done. And
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. Well, and I think just like scheduling it and putting it down, like
Right.
putting it on paper is what's gonna make it real for me. Like I
Yes.
can't just say, okay, let's do it again in 2 weeks. Like
Right.
I have to like put it in my phone and make it happen.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, we're in July, so we're gonna be here August through mid-September. So we're gonna have 7 more weeks of being able to do it in person if we do it every week.
Okay.
I don't know if that's possible with the car situation.
Well, we should be getting a car back.
Okay, good.
I did buy a new car.
Did you really?
Oh yeah, that new car.
Remember the new car I got?